Friends, Aaron here. I want to talk to you a little bit about fear. And I'm going to start by telling you that I humbly confess that there have been times in my life when I have had to confess with my mouth my fear. Oftentimes that's been over the last 15 years to my wife, Teresa. I've had to also talk to her about the fact that I feel that she's fearful. Maybe we were sharing some fearful thoughts. And it took an honest searching of our own hearts and confession to the Father so that our fears could be brought up and out in the open, into the light, so that they can be relieved, released. We can let them go. And I see a lot of people, whether they admit it or not, being afraid of this virus, COVID-19. And I want to talk a little bit about that. I'm going to talk about what power the enemy really has. And a lot of people believe it's nonsense to say that you know your creator. It's nonsense to believe that we're an accident and that we're not created. That's nonsense. And if we are created, for what purpose? To know the creator, to share life with the creator. There was no physical anything, no physical matter, nothing in existence before the Father who is, I am, thought and spoke things into being. And it's that speaking, that energy, that sound waves, everything's made of sound waves, everything came into existence. And our enemy is also created. You know, Satan. People say, "Oh, there's no devil and there's no God," and well, there is, but it's not this idea that many philosophies and religions have, that there's equal good and equal evil. You know, the good is the creator, and the evil is one of the created, and the created can't create, and the created really can't even fully destroy. It can take apart. And in a sense, that's sort of destruction, but it's not complete destruction. The one who created can completely destroy, make something cease to exist, not just break it down to its finest parts. So when it comes to like this misogyny, this manipulation and corruption of creation, the enemy's limited, you know, in what he can accomplish. And so, you know, I say it time and again, you know, there's a lot of things that we're taught and we just believe. We believe, somebody commented on one of my videos that the nature of virus is mutation. Well, how do you know that? Now, how do I know that? How do we know that? How do we see it? We're told that. But without external factors, do viruses just mutate on their own? I suppose, you know, when subjected to toxins or radiation, possibly, there's mutations. But frankly, I believe that all of these viral mutations that we see are, I mean, that's manipulation. That's what it is. At the direction of the fallen ones, frankly. And we're also told that coronavirus are zoonotic, that they jump from one species to the next. Like, I don't believe that the Father created ants to bite you with a fiery venom. Did he create ants? Absolutely. Are ants beneficial? Absolutely. Bacteria, fungus, and virus, all of which are beneficial to their host at the point of creation, I believe. Certainly there's plenty of knowledge that there's beneficial symbiotic relationships between hosts and fungus and bacteria, virus as well. And does bird virus jump to a pig, and from a pig to a bat to a snake to a person? I don't think so. I think that those things are created, and there's plenty of information if you care to look and find it for yourself. It's there to be seen about what men have been doing for many, many decades, potentially hundreds of years. And there's nothing new under the sun. As it was in the times of Noah, so shall it be. These are things that were done before. If you've not looked into all the megalithic cities and come on, the indisputable fact that so much of what we see in pre-ancient cultures there's evidence of technology at least on par with what we have today, if not beyond. What do we know about history? I'm going to be 43 years old this month. I know as far back as I can remember. I suspect that there's a great deal of truth in what my parents have taught me about their lives starting in the 50s. And my grandma talking to me about her life starting in the 20s. Of course, understanding that they're presenting that information seen through their lenses. What do I know of history? What do you know of history? History is always changing. Definitions of words are always changing. Do I think that a copy, cut and pasted virus can really remain viable? I mean, literally take a vial of this horrible, scary, deadly virus, crack it open someplace, it infects a few people, and then spreads like wildfire across the earth and can't be stopped as it mutates and becomes more deadly and all of this stuff. No, I think the thing fizzles out. I think that it stops being able to reproduce. The genesis, if you will, the life force. In Genesis, we read that every tree had its fruit and of its kind, and that in that fruit was a seed that brought forth more of its kind. The virus that is endemic in bats or pigs or birds, they bring forth more of the same. Now, when we copy and paste these things, do they really reproduce? More of themselves that weren't created, just Frankenstein copy and pasted together? I really doubt it. I'm no expert. I'm just telling you what I think. Fact is, our enemies, and there are elites out there, people who, whether they are or not different than we are, believe they are. We don't have anything other than privately owned banks, and it's the same handful of people all across the world that run these banks, that own pretty much everything, including us as slaves, because we've surrendered our freedom to them. Look, stop with all that, because that's not where I meant to go with this. Problem, reaction, solution. Can they make a chimera-like virus that infects and makes sick the people that are in direct contact with it, and maybe pass it on to a couple of people, a couple of times? Sure, I think so. Can they then use their propaganda, controlled media, not just in China, here too, that's a fact, an absolute fact, and create a reaction? People are so programmed. Man, there is no hope for us if we're going to continue to consume the media. If you're still watching your TV, you're a fool. You're a fool. That's a harsh thing to say, but you're a fool. And I hope you wake up and stop being so foolish. I've said it before, by accident I know who won the Super Bowl. I still don't know the score. I don't read about sports anymore. I watch nothing on TV. I don't subject myself to the propaganda and the literal, the technology that's patented to have a physical, psychological, and emotional response. that benefits those who are trying to program me with the propaganda. I mean, that's just the way that is. So, whether you're watching social media or you're watching the mainstream propaganda, you're watching alternative news, all these platforms are controlled. It's all controlled. You got to wonder, sometimes who's for real and who's just deceived. I've said it before. People want to say, well, why would China kill their own people? Why are they murdering people? Why are people locked up? We don't know what's going on. Just like we don't know what viruses do. I mean, how many people out there really know? We don't know what's going on there. We just don't. But if it's rounding up of political dissidents, if it's, mass killing of elderly and sick and people who are no longer productive, who are more dead weight, than productive for their government. Why do we question that? Why do we question the possibility that that's going on, and that's why it's going on? Why would they get rid of a bunch of their own people? China's been doing that forever. Other places too. I'm not just talking about China, but I mean, this is what this is about. Where all these people are supposedly dying in China and being locked down, and maybe they are, I don't know. But there are people who, I can't think of the religion, but part of their religion is they eat super holistically, and their religion is outlawed in China. And if they're caught practicing their religion, they're jailed indefinitely for it. They don't get out. And there is a black market. You can go to Hong Kong and get organs that you can be on an organ waiting list here in the States or in Europe forever. You can go to Hong Kong if you've got enough money, and you can buy a kidney, you can buy a liver, you can buy a heart, you can buy eyes, you can buy whatever you need to buy that can be transplanted. You can do that. And maybe there's other things people do with that stuff too. I mean, I'm just saying. I'm going to talk a little bit about that in another video, but these people are murdered, their organs are harvested, and nobody knows anything about what happened to them. There are watchdog organizations that have, come out and with documentation that people who have been imprisoned in China, they're murdered by organ harvesting. That's how they're murdered. They're killed that way, and then their bodies are cremated, and their families have to pay to get their cremated remains. They cremate them so that people can't see that they hacked them up to take the organs out. China executes an incredible amount of people, and if they think your organs aren't clean but they want your eyes, they'll shoot you in the chest. If they want these organs here, they might shoot you in the head. I've shared some of these links. There's a ton of information out there if you want to see it. It's sickening. It's sad. It's infuriating. This is the world we live in. Do we need to fear the virus? I definitely don't think so. Not in any way whatsoever. Look, my family, we've been taking care of ourselves better than pretty much anybody we know for the last few years. And we're not resting on our laurels, so to speak. We're understanding that we have really just the beginning of knowledge about how to take care of ourselves and be healthy. And we are actively seeking to learn more and understand more about how our bodies work and how what's in creation helps us to be healthy. I mean, we've literally had our minds blown by understanding just how many different kinds of fruits and vegetables are out there, medicinal plants and herbs, that you can eat the leaves on a strawberry plant, that the roots are beneficial, that there's medicinal properties in a parsley root. I mean, that there's corn that has more protein than a slab of beef, that there's amaranth that you can use as a flour and it's like a superfood. You go to the store and you look at your fruits and vegetables department. I mean, that is 1,000th or 1/10,000th of what's out there. Who knows? By the grace of the Father Almighty, we're learning stuff that none of you know, most of you have no clue. And we didn't either a short while ago. And we know that it's only the tip of this huge iceberg, the food pyramid. Look, our bodies are incredibly good at eliminating toxins, mutated cells. That's all cancer is mutated cells and clumps of them essentially forming these tumors. We all have cancer cells, but our bodies are really great at eliminating them if we take care of our bodies from the beginning. But from the beginning, our modern medicine does all kinds of things, awful things, cutting the umbilical cord, sticking needles in, taking the blood out, putting antibiotic ointment on the eyeballs, pushing C-sections so the baby's not coming through the vaginal canal and collecting all of that good bacteria. The vernix isn't on them. That's wiped off right away, even in a vaginal birth. There's so many, the babies aren't, it's okay to use formula, which is poison for babies, not mom's nursing. A mother can hold her baby and breathe in the hormones from the baby. And as mom does that, mom's body recognizes what the challenges are for the baby in the environment. And then the mom's body, sorry, my nose itches. Mom's body creates antibodies that baby needs in the breast milk. And a healthy mother and baby that are nursing are very unlikely to be ill. I mean, so few people know this stuff. So our health and well-being is attacked right from the get-go. It was known for a long, long time. There are some great old studies out there talking about how if you contract actual wild measles and fight it off, which people didn't die from the measles, man. That's nonsense. It's nonsense, this scare about the measles. This is when I talk about the programming. You gotta watch TV. Go ahead and watch it. And now you believe. People my age believe that measles is dangerous. That's ridiculous. You are less likely to have cancer if you have had the measles. When a baby is in utero, when a baby's in the womb, that baby doesn't really need to use its immune system at all, right? And then when the baby comes out, well, the baby's, too young and fragile to have to deal with, toxins in the environment and potential pathogens, which really maybe aren't all that bad. I mean, ultimately, unless they've been messed with, which I think they have been, and for a long, long time. But if baby's nursing, baby's going to be healthy. If mom's healthy and baby's nursing, baby's going to be healthy. And then when the baby is starting to get weaned off of breast milk, then the baby needs to start flexing the muscles of its immune system. We can sit on our couch and eat Doritos and drink beer and watch TV and then think we're going to get up and go run a marathon. No, you've got to build toward that and to deal with our environment around us, to be healthy, to take care of our bodies, to live long and be healthy, eliminating toxins that occur in our bodies, eliminating mutated cells. Then the body needs to exercise the immune system, which is what happens with these childhood diseases. And we're robbing our kids of their ability to exercise their immune system. We give a vaccine and then the whole immune system response is not initiated, only part of it, the part that remembers the pathogen, not the part that seeks it out, destroys it, and eliminates it. And so then the pathogen is still in the body, and all of the adjuvants that are toxic, even, trace amounts of them, building up because the body's not eliminating them. And then we're taking in all sorts of other toxins and the same toxins in so many other ways. I mean, it's unbelievable. And eventually our bodies are overloaded. And it doesn't take that long today for people's bodies to be completely overloaded. I mean, 54% of all of our kids in America have chronic disease, some kind of chronic illness. And I mean, I've got a meme I started working on, just sharing. I looked into the numbers about, autism, asthma, gosh, I'm not even diabetes. I mean, all the different numbers, and they're insane. They're insane. But we're just like, modern medicine's great. Modern medicine's great. Modern medicine is a failure. It's a failure. And there's some very smart people who have a lot of knowledge, but the knowledge that they've learned is bunk. Where am I going with all of this? Where I'm going with this is that we need to be actively seeking to understand and implement the knowledge as we gain it, what we need to do to be healthy. That's what we need to be doing more than anything else. And being afraid, we're behind right off the bat. And so if you're afraid, you got to be honest with yourself. We've got to know what our fear response is. A little bit of a faster beating heart, mind racing, shortness of breath. That has a serious effect on your health and well-being in every way possible. And that's what the enemy does. How much power does the enemy have? Lies and fear. And the Father is honest and gives peace. And part of the honesty is to the reality of the life that the world that we're in for now, and the testing that we have to go through. So I just wanted to share a couple things about this coronavirus. Other people have shared them. I just want to say this first of all. I understand that novel means new, and that's where they say it's a novel coronavirus because it's a new one we've never seen before, and then eventually they name it like SARS or COVID-19. But novel also means a long fictional story, a man thought up, a man-made story, fictional story. That's also what novel means. You could call a novel coronavirus all sorts of other things that mean new. There's a lot of synonyms for new that don't have an alternate meaning of fictional. That's a little bit of a segue into this. I'm not the first one to share it. I read it somewhere on a video comment, and other people have picked up on it. Jamie from A Plain Troop has talked about it. I don't know, maybe Spiro, can't think of his last name. Some other people have talked about it. I looked it up, found it myself a few days ago, and it's that in 1981, Dean Koontz wrote a book called Eyes of Darkness, and in that book, it actually mentions the year 2020, and it talks about a military-created biological weapon called the Wuhan 400. And of course, at least it's the only level 4 lab in China, but I think in all of Asia is the BSL-4 lab that's in Wuhan. You can go to Nature, and they've got an article in there, look inside of the BSL lab in Wuhan. That article was from 2017. The lab's not that old. It opened up pretty recently. So, I mean, come on. I mean, a novel, a fictional story from 1981 talking about the Wuhan biological weapon being created by the Chinese military in Wuhan, China. There's some interesting correlation with the doctor's name, the doctor who was the whistleblower who died in China, and the doctor who created this in the story. And again, 2020 is mentioned in there. You can look that up. That's for real. I also wanted to mention that in June 29th, I think it was, 2019, China passed an over 100 article law. So it's one law, but there's all these articles in it, very long, and I read a lot of it. Whatever I could find. Not every article I could find, every piece of the legislation, but it's mandatory vaccines. People have to get caught up if they don't have their vaccinations up to date, and they have to get it caught up in a hurry and be completely up to date. I don't know why my nose itches like this. It's crazy. Completely up to date with what the government wants them to have, and it also included electronic monitoring, which was about, they talked only in what I've read about virus production, distribution. But it's hard for me to imagine that doesn't also include tracking whether or not people have the viruses. The vaccines. And that, curiously enough, was to be fully implemented by December 1st of 2019. So, I'm not going to talk anymore about that. Think about it yourself. And there's other people who've picked up on this. Nicholson, 1968, brought it up in a live stream he did with Richie from Boston, Brandon the Big Sib, and Ark from Destiny Lab. Jamie was just talking about it. Jamie from A Plain Truth for You. Others have brought it up. You know, who brought it up first? Who knows? Who cares? Frankly. But the information needs to be talked about. And that's that the Chinese are now scrubbing their money because the virus can be passed on the paper money. And Johnny Manziel, right? They tell you could get some people are talking about you get a package from Amazon from China, just like the Japanese juicer that Homer Simpson got a long time ago. People have showed it. Somebody coughed in there, and then everybody in Springfield got sick from this flu. You get a package from Amazon from China, and it's going to have the flu virus on it. It lives on things for 20-something days and 9 days in the cold, and you're going to have to disinfect your packages before you bring them in your house and all that stuff. No. Problem, reaction with the propaganda media, scaring the hell out of you. Solution, and I've shared this. People say, oh, well, they're probably just spraying Clorox, disinfecting people. Maybe that's all not even really happening. But the bottom line is there's a lot of stuff that they can spray and that would build up into toxic levels that would cause the same symptoms that they say the virus causes. And if you've not looked into 5G technology, if you've not looked into the literal microwave weapons technologies that our military has, people think you're a tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist. This is not a tinfoil hat. If you say DEW, directed energy weapon, go check it out. Lockheed Martin. You can check it out. The Navy, the Air Force, the Marines have all put out videos and publications talking about their DEWs. That's not conspiracy theory. That's a real thing. And microwave energy is part of that. And the frequencies that are used, the wavelengths that are used for this new millimeter microwave technology, 5G, it's the same. It's the same wavelengths. It's the same energy. So there's some very smart people who have postulated that they're going to be able to literally completely disarm a person, have them laying on the ground prostrate if they're attacked with one of these DEWs, if they're targeted with them. I mean, they've got crowd dispersal technology where people say they feel like their skin's burning and they can just run away. And anything they're telling us is only a little bit about what they actually can do. It's always been like that. 20, 30, maybe 40 years ahead is what the technology really is by the time they're letting us know what they've got. It's been around a lot longer than that. There's a lot of crazy stuff people just won't believe, even though we've been told it's there. So, you know, the solution, I do absolutely believe, can and will cause more of the very problem that they can't cause just by cracking a vial, letting out their monster virus all over the world. And it spreads indefinitely. You have to let them do to you. And the question is, are you going to do that? We're already doing it. My phone's off most of the time. My Wi-Fi's off most of the time. There's no wireless stuff in my house. I absolutely refused to let my electric company put a smart meter on my house. And they're not charging me extra money a month because I would not sign their paper. I told them I do not consent, and they don't charge me. I don't use Bluetooth anything. You know, my printer is, I have to, wirelessly connect it to the network, or wired connection to the network, not wirelessly connected. Again, no television, no streaming anything, no Hulu, none of that stuff. And we eat for health. I mean, and we do that more and more and more. Almost every day we're making changes. I mean, every week, more and more. That's what we're doing to be ready for whatever's coming our way. And I don't expect us to get sick and die. I just don't. I don't care what they say about outbreaks. And I'm telling you, no fear. I watched some videos that a fellow's doing about, a coronavirus outbreak in Buffalo, New York. That's where my family lives. About people coming back to Louisiana who had been teaching in China and not getting screened and just, driving over here from Houston after flying in from China. I don't care. I don't care about all this fear people are trying to pump. I'm working on my house. I'm getting out of here one way or the other in this year. And we're going to go get some land, Father willing. We're going to have our chickens. We're going to grow all this food that none of you have never heard of. We're looking for a well. We're looking for springs. We're going to catch rainwater. We're going to live as simply as we can. That's been on our hearts for years. The Father continues to refine that calling for us so we understand it better. And if we left 3 years ago, we would have made nothing but mistakes. So I'm just telling you, I'm sharing some of this stuff with you because I just hope for you that you really find shalom, peace and well-being in every way. Well-being in your body, peace in your heart and your mind, no fear. Shalom until next time, friends.